Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. In this morning's video, the decisive game between Ding Liren and Magnus Carlsen played yesterday in the semi-finals of the Chess24 Invitational. A very good game that I'm really glad to show you. So let's get started. Ding with the white pieces opens with d4, Magnus Carlsen answers with d5, c4, c6, knight to f3, knight to f6, knight to c3, and here comes e6. This is the Semi-Slav. Now, there are two main lines for white in the Semi-Slav, bishop to g5, that can lead to the complex Moscov Variation, and e3 with the Meran Variation in the cards with a more natural setup. Ding continues with d3, so Ding chooses a natural development without all the complications of the Moscow, and now knight in b goes to d7. Bishop to e2 instead of the main line bishop to d3 is not a great, so after bishop to e2 there is not a great difference, because if black now captures on c4, what happens? It happens that it can be a bit more flexible, this bishop to e2, but later we will notice that can also become a tempo loss. Why? Because now if d captures on c4, with the bishop already on d3, white is forced to immediately recapture. Now with the bishop on e2, white can also play a4 first, controlling b5, then short castle, and bishop captures on c4. So this is the difference, but not a great difference. So let's go back to our game. After bishop to e2, here comes bishop to d6, short castle for white and short castle for black. b3, because in this variation the last square bishop belongs to b2, and now b6, same idea. Ding already played this position in the last 2 years, if I'm not wrong, twice, 2 draws against Topalov and Shankland, so he knows very well this position. Carlsen instead never played it before. Now bishop to b2, bishop to b7, same idea, and here comes a4. a5 is in the cards, so Carlsen immediately blocks the a5 with a5, and now bishop to d3. So with cards that didn't change on c4, now these 2 bishop movements really can become a tempo loss. In fact, now the position is completely equal. Instead of bishop to d3, I would consider bishop to a3. The idea is to exchange the dark square bishop, because in this position, at least for now, this is the good black bishop, but we must say that the pawn structure in this position can change. So even changing this dark square bishop won't be a great strategical advantage for white. Anyway, here comes bishop to d3, now rook to c8, and now queen to e2. Ding is ready to push with e4, that's why Carlsen pushes with c5. Now e4 is 3 times under control, so not possible to play e4, or well, not a good idea now to play e4. But with this c5, white can jump with the knight to b5. Knight to b5, targeting the bishop. Bishop back to b8, and now probably good idea is to improve the rooks. Instead, Ding continues with another good move, knight to e5, and now queen to e7. Queen to e7, because if we go back one move, this knight exchange greatly favors white. Let's watch why. Because after knight captures and d captures, this knight moves back to d7, here comes f4, completely shutting down this bishop on b8 with advantage for white. So, after knight to e5, Carlsen doesn't capture, improves the queen, queen to e7. But, again, here comes f4. D capture, b captures, knight to e4, and rook in a goes to d1. Good move, because it was time really to improve the rooks. Now, not this one, because this one after f4 is on the f5, that is good. The rook to improve is the rook on a1. Now, rook in c moves to d8. Bishop to a3, pinning this pawn so that black can't capture in the center because there is the queen on e7. And here comes knight captures on e5. F capture, and here comes f5. Now, in these types of position, it's a good idea to control the king side with the queen, so improving the position of the queen when it's still possible, and now Ding can play queen to h5, instead here comes rook to b1 that is indirectly attacking b6, so a good idea, but unfortunately for white there is no good discovery to play, so better to play queen to h5. Now in fact it's Carlsen that will control the king side with some advantage with queen to g5. Now rook to b2, rook to f7, and now queen back to e1. Rook in f goes to d7, and we notice that there is a better coordination in the black pieces. Black is a bit better. Now rook to e2, h6, bishop back to b2, and now bishop to c6 is a bit useless. Bishop to c2, away, and this is a good idea, away from the dangerous d file. And now king to h8. Rook to f3, with a rook that is under the X-ray attack of the bishop, but is this a mistake? Let's watch. Now Carlsen doesn't play knight to c3 immediately, brings back the queen to g6, now rook to h3 and queen back to g5, because Carlsen is low on time on the clock and it's not simple to find the good plan. So he tries to repeat the moves and gain some time on the clock, or at least save some time on the clock. But Ding brings back the rook to f3, and now in this position Carlsen really plays knight to c3. So this exchange sacrifice is not a mistake at all, but if Ding is able to find the right continuations, this is a great strategic idea that at least for now equalizes the game. So what to play now? If bishop captures on c3, then of course black will just win this exchange, and this bishop is safe because the pawn is pinned. So black will just win the exchange without concessions, so black is simply winning. So this is not possible to play. After knight to c3, best move to play is what Ding will play, and this is d5. Now what to do? Knight captures on e2 is the move to play, because also comes with check, so comes with tempo. The queen recaptures on e2, and now what? Now this bishop is under attack. Carlsen brings back the bishop to b7, but we will see that with the right continuation for white it was better to exchange this bishop on the knight, because these two bishops will suffer, will be blocked, and this is one of the important positions in the game. Now rook to g3, of course, at first attacking the queen, queen to h4, and what to play now? Ding continues with d6 to block this dark square bishop. This is not a bad idea, but there is something on the board that is much better. Let's go back one move. Now in this position e4 is really strong, because both bishops are still blocked, plus white is attacking the center with the idea to completely control the center. Now in this position f captures on e4 is a terrible mistake, because after rook to g4 with the second attack against the rook, with tempo against the queen, then of course the queen must move back, white will capture the central pawn, completely dominating the game, also with some checkmate threats. So after e4, best move to play is f4, attacking the rook, but now rook to g4, or even better, rook to g6, attacking the weak e6 pawn, will give white some advantage. Now of course, going back one move, we said that this move is bad, but also this other move we will notice that will bring to similar central dominations for white, so another bad idea. So e4 is the move to play, shutting down both bishops, and with the idea of controlling the center, also giving the king some big problems. But let's go back to our game. d6 played by Ding, one bishop is shut down, the other one not. So bishop to e4, Ding doesn't want to lose his good bishop, so bishop to d1, and now bishop back to c6. Rook to h3 attacking the queen, queen to g5, and now rook to g3. A repetition, queen to h4, rook to h3, queen back to g5. Now with rook to g3, the game becomes a draw by repetition, but Ding wants to achieve something better. He brings back the knight, and this is a great strategic idea. Now rook to f8 and queen to f2. And of course the idea is to clear the e2 file for this knight maneuver that wants to attack the weak backward pawn on e6. Queen back to d8, knight to e2, now there is also this terrible fork, so queen to h7 at least controlling g6, and now knight to f4. Ding is again better. Carlsen must activate the bishops, and he plays the best move, that is the bishop sacrifice on d6. So this was the best idea, but now with both players with about 30 seconds on the clock, what to play now for Ding? Ding continues with knight captures on e6 that will regain the exchange, but this is a blunder. Let's go back one move. Now in this position, e captures on d6 is the move to play. Now rook captures on d6 and simply bishop to e2. Now, of course, this rook can't move away, can't play, for example, rook to d2 because there is the terrible knight fork. So rook to e8 protecting the pawn is the best move. Here rook to g3, and there is a lot of pressure both on f7. This bishop can also move to e5, threatening the rook. Something is going down, and I think in this position white is winning. Let's go back to our game. We said knight captures on e6 is a blunder because after queen to e8 and knight captures on f8 we check, the bishop captures back, bishop captures on f8. Now there is also this terrible rook captures on the one we check. So queen captures on f5 we check first, g6, and now another bad move, queen to f1 protecting d1. But notice the difference between the actual game and the best variation that we watched before, from winning activity to total passivity. Now in this position there is the winning move on the board, but Carlsen continues with bishop to g7. Carlsen didn't find it, but Ding still doesn't recognize the danger, continues with bishop to c2. Now in this position Carlsen goes beyond the blind spot and finds the move that is the same that could be played before. Rook to d2, the rook is attacking the unprotected bishop on c2, there is another unprotected bishop on b2, and more than that, this is a fork because also g2 is under fire. So in this position Ding resigns because everything is lost. So a beautiful game in my opinion, rich in ideas, but if we pay attention, the ideas are almost always the same. The control of the center, from the center you can threaten the king, the power of the bishop pair, the queen's activities, and the weak squares, the weak pieces. I really hope that you enjoyed my video, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We will meet later because this afternoon there is the grand final between Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen. For now, I thank you very much for watching and see you later. Goodbye!